So here's my latest frame. It's a Z750, just arrived in the post. So we're going to unwrap it and show you the frame from start to finish. We're putting a hardtail on this, doing the tank tube conversion, and also clearing up what I call the sort of backbone, the back of the engine, mountings, etc. So we'll take you through that procedure. As I say, it's a Kawasaki Z750 frame. Not sure what year. Right, we've unwrapped this Z750 frame. First thing I'd like to point out is, if the camera will pick that up, as you can see there's a wee, it's not really focusing on it I don't think, there's a wee chip, wee dent just on this chamfer that they always have on the steering heads, which helps locate onto the taper on the steering head fitting on my jig. Now it's the first thing I always do, is I always inspect these, and they're usually quite clean, but as you can see here there's a small dent on this one. So basically that would throw the steering head right out and it wouldn't line up properly, or you wouldn't notice it, and when you built it the front end wouldn't be true to the back axle or perpendicular to the back axle. So it's always worth checking that before you start on a frame, just to see if there is any wee marks. What I'll do is I'll file that down to give it the same sort of edges. Right, I filed that wee lip down, cleaned out all the grease, and as you'll see here there's quite a mark on the inside of the steering head where the bearing goes. I can only imagine this has been caused by somebody putting on it, goes right round to here, and there is a massive lip. So that's pretty severe. In fact, actually looking at the shine underneath, I think this has been caused by somebody who's knocked the bearings out rather than try and put them in the other way, or trying to put them in. Hard to say, because there is an edge there, maybe a bit of both. Somebody's knocked out the old ones and then try to hammer new ones in, but yeah, we'll need to have a wee look at that, because as I say, that is quite severe. So that's the frame all lined up in the jig. We're going to extend the length of it by 2 to 3 inches. We'll use these 2 pins here. One interesting fact about the Z750, this side, the slot here is 1 inch, and the other side over there is 20mm. Quite bizarre, never came across that before, especially inch size, quite unusual, and it is bang on 1 inch, 25.4mm, going by my digital calipers, so very unusual for a Japanese motorbike to use an imperial size, but hey ho. Right, so let's see, we've got it sort of sitting in position. We've got some packers under the frame here just to keep the side stand lug over there off of the jig itself. So it's just sitting, as you can see, just with the packers clearing it. We've positioned a bar across the front, locked it in place, put a mark with a ink marker, so that I'll know if it's moved, just there, and also just there. I think that's picking it up quite good. We've also tack welded a bar across, tack welding each side of the frame, with just a bar running across it, and that's because we're going to cut the frame just here to extend it onto the hardtail. We'll put some slugs in here. I'll maybe take you through that. I think I've done that before, but not harmless. And we've basically taken the mounting points for the top back engine mount, and what we're actually going to do is cut the brackets off. You'll maybe see it clearer on this side. We're going to cut these brackets off that are onto the frame and tack them onto this bar here, so that I'm able to use the inside of the 2 round spacers to actually line up the mounting points on the frame I'm about to build. And as you can see, I've already ground and cut a bit of the frame here just for the top to go. This was all in place before I did that. So obviously I had to build a sort of fairly rigid section to hold that in line and space as such when the frame's gone. And we've got another one down at the bottom here. Let's see if we get it easier from there. Yep, you can see that holding the bottom rear engine mount. At the top we're going to cut it across the tank tube here and across these extra braces there as well, just to remove that sort of large piece in one section and get that out of the way, and then we'll cut it here just to remove that length of tube, and then finally we'll clean it up where you can see the chalk marks there, and also remove the steering head lock at this side. So we're going to push on with that, and I'll show you it just gradually as it progresses. But I just wanted to show you how I've got it all clamped into the jig before I start cutting it up, because it's pretty important that the frame doesn't spring, or obviously you'll lose your accuracy if you haven't picked up all these engine mounting points, etc. Right, we'll push on. Well, here you can see the subframe and the back all cut off. You'll see what I was talking about by leaving these fittings on. I've left them on both sides, and that will allow me to pick up the rear engine mounting points from the bars or whatever I run across here. And same with the lower engine mountings, we'll put that onto the box section that we run at the bottom here. I'm not going to bother this now with removing the rest of these. We'll wait till we've done the hardtail and we get it off the jig to get full access into the steering head area there, and then we'll stick it back in the jig before I plate this area back up again. But it's now we're just going to forget about them and carry on with the rest of the frame. Right, so the first thing I've done, I've made up some bar that is going to fit in between the two top rear engine mountings. This is 16mm or just over 5/8 round bar. We've drilled it and put in an M10 thread, and they just fit in there and they'll be clamped in place with the bolts going through there. Next thing we've done is we've made up the slugs. We've cut the frame, as you can see, with a slot for welding to hold it in place, both sides, and we've got one similar over to the other side there, and you can see where it's cut. And we've also made one up for the tank tube as well, and you see it's been slotted already for welding. So I've also made up the bottom engine mounting points off of the bottom box section, which is 30 by 50, which is just over inch by 2 inch, and we've drilled a hole in that to catch the bottom of the back tube here, and these have also been countersunk underneath, so that when you fill up the weld, it's not just in that actual hole itself that it's catching. What I've also done here is the back tube, and I've already drilled a hole through there for this bottom bar, and as you can see there's just a notch out at the front for fitting that up. We'll actually put the tube through it, just like you see it lining up. And you can see how that fits on there. We've also made up some small brackets that we're going to add a wee bit of extra bracing along the top one there, and to tie the two of them in I've also made up another wee bracket that will be welded along there, and that's just for extra support, simply because these are quite long, and I don't really want these flexing about when it's supporting the rear of the engine. It's quite a major mounting point, especially since it's a big twin. And sort of finally, we've already cut the groove here for the tube to fit on, and you can see that it's also slotted, and as you see, that will just slide on there. But that's basically where we've got it to so far. We're going to push on now and do the bottom frame rail and get that in position just to hold it all securely in place before we start tacking anything together. So I'll take you through the next steps as we progress. We've slugged the top tube. That's got a hole through it so that you can pass wires and stuff through it. Still haven't touched the front of the steering head yet. We'll do that once we've welded it all and got it off the jig. Made up a couple of top seat rails and slugged the bottom tubes in here, and if you, I don't know if I'll pick it up, we'll get it round here, and the same for round there at that side. So yeah, it's not followed a perfect line from the tank tube right to the rear axle. There's a wee bit of deflection there, but it's not too bad. Nothing really we could do with that. We had to extend the tank tube at the same angle as the original one. And so we've unbolted the 750 from the frame, from the jig even, and just wanted to show you a couple of bits. Here you can see the bottom of the box section that I've welded on the underside, and you can see this back engine tube clearly on these these four holes where it's going to be welded, plug welded and filled in, and it just gives it a wee bit extra catch on there and helps tie this bottom piece into the rest of the frame. As you'll see, there's a couple other wee areas as well that we can't get to, which will all get fully welded. So here you can see I've cut away this tube and the wee bit of bracing that was on there. The plans are we'll obviously grind this off to the radius of the tube and grind this off as well, and then what we're going to do is we'll just extend this plate up inside here and along back down and along that weld there, and weld that so that it's just like one continual bracket. And that's basically the steering head taken care of. We've started to grind down. This is the tank tube there. You can see where some of the old weld, the original weld still is, and we've taken down where we put the slots in here. So we started taking that down, and that's starting to look nice. So here we have the frame fully finished and welded. The welds are all been cleaned up and it's ready to get wrapped and posted back to the owner. So there's really not much to show you. As I say, it's fairly a straightforward hardtail, but I'm quite chuffed with the way it's all turned out. It certainly looks nice. You can see now you can't really see any place where the slugs have been on the top tube or on the bottom tube. That's basically it finished. Onwards and upwards to the next one. Thanks for watching.